There is a small, ordinary-looking cat. He does not do tricks. He does not seek attention. He does not come when you call him. Most of the time, he simply walks the hallways alone, quietly, going nowhere in particular. But the doctors and nurses who worked alongside him for years will tell you something that no amount of medical training could have prepared them for. This cat knew when someone was going to die, every single time, and he was never wrong. This is not a ghost story. This is not folklore. This happened inside a real hospital, was documented by real doctors, and was published in one of the most respected medical journals in the world. And when you hear the full story, every detail, every confirmed case, every scientific attempt to explain what this animal was doing, you will never look at your cat the same way again. His name was Oscar. He was a small gray and white tabby cat, adopted as a kitten in 2005 by the staff of the Steer House Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Providence, Rhode Island. Steer House was not an ordinary care facility. It was a specialized unit for patients in the advanced stages of dementia, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and other conditions that slowly erase a person from the inside out. These were patients who could no longer speak, no longer recognize their families, no longer understand where they were or what was happening to them. Oscar was brought in as a therapy animal. The idea was simple. The presence of a calm, gentle animal can bring comfort to patients who have lost almost everything else. Many care facilities do this. It is not unusual. What happened next was very unusual. Oscar, from the beginning, was not a particularly warm or affectionate cat. He did not enjoy being held. He did not seek out human attention. Staff noticed early on that he seemed to prefer his own company. He would walk the halls. He would observe. He would occasionally sit briefly with a patient, then move on. He seemed, by all accounts, to be a perfectly ordinary, slightly aloof cat, until the nurses began keeping records. It started with one nurse noticing something she could not quite explain. Oscar had gone into a patient's room. He had jumped onto the bed, curled up beside the patient, and begun to purr, loudly, continuously. He stayed there for hours, something he had never done before. The patient died that same day. The nurse noted it. She thought it was a coincidence. Then it happened again. Oscar chose a room, curled up beside a patient, purred quietly and continuously, did not leave. The patient died within hours, and then again, and again. The nurses began to pay attention. They began writing things down. Which patient Oscar visited, what time he arrived, what time the patient passed. The pattern was undeniable. Every patient that Oscar visited in this specific way, climbing onto the bed, curling close, staying for hours, died within approximately 4 hours of his arrival. Not sometimes, not usually, every single time. Over the following months and years, the staff began to understand that Oscar's presence beside a patient was not a random event. It was a signal, the most reliable signal in the entire facility. When Oscar chose you, your time was very short. What happened next says everything about how seriously the staff took what they were witnessing. They began using Oscar as a medical indicator. When Oscar entered a room and showed signs of settling, jumping onto the bed, curling close, beginning to purr, nurses would quietly contact the patient's family. They would tell them to come, not because the machines were showing something alarming, not because a doctor had made a new assessment, because Oscar was there. Families who received that call and arrived in time were able to say goodbye, to hold a hand, to be present at the moment their loved one left the world. In a unit where so many patients had lost the ability to communicate, where death often arrived suddenly and without warning, Oscar gave families something priceless. He gave them time. He gave them time. One family later told doctors that receiving that call, the call that said simply, "Oscar is with your mother," was one of the most meaningful moments of their lives. They had been afraid she would die alone, confused with no one beside her. Instead, they were there, because of a cat. In 2007, Dr. David Dosa, a geriatrician at Rhode Island Hospital who also worked with patients at Steer House, decided to document what he had witnessed. He wrote a paper. It was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, one of the most prestigious and rigorously reviewed medical journals on the planet. A journal that does not publish ghost stories. A journal that does not publish coincidences. A journal that publishes science. The paper described Oscar's behavior in clinical detail. It described the pattern. It described the confirmed cases. At the time of publication, Oscar had accurately predicted more than 25 deaths. The world paid attention. News organizations around the globe covered the story. Scientists, veterinarians, animal behaviorists, and medical professionals all weighed in. Dr. Dosa himself went on to write a full book about Oscar called A Cat's Guide to Caring for Your Human, which brought the story to an even wider audience. By the time Oscar passed away in 2022, he had accurately predicted more than 100 deaths, 100 confirmed cases, not one error. This is the question that every scientist, every doctor, every researcher who encountered Oscar's story immediately asked. How did he know? The honest answer is that we do not know for certain, but there are several compelling scientific theories, and when you consider them together, what Oscar was doing begins to make a strange kind of sense. Theory 1. The smell of death. The human body undergoes significant chemical changes in the hours and days before death. Cells begin to break down. Metabolic processes slow or stop. The body releases specific compounds, ketones, certain organic chemicals, as these processes occur. Cats have an extraordinarily sensitive smell, approximately 200 million odor receptors compared to a human's 5 million. They can detect chemical changes in the air that are completely invisible to human senses. It is entirely possible, and many researchers believe it is likely, that Oscar was detecting the specific biochemical signature of a body approaching death, a smell that no human in the building could perceive, but to Oscar was as clear and distinct as a voice. Theory 2. Changes in body heat. As the body begins to shut down, circulation changes, blood flow shifts. The body's ability to regulate temperature alters. There is evidence that dying patients emit a slightly different pattern of body heat than patients who are stable. Cats are extraordinarily sensitive to warmth. They seek it instinctively. Some researchers have proposed that Oscar may have been drawn to a specific pattern of warmth or the absence of normal warmth that indicated a body entering its final stage. Theory 3. Behavioral changes. Patients in the advanced stages of dementia often become more still, more quiet in the hours before death. Their breathing changes, their movement changes, their entire physical presence changes in subtle ways that are very difficult for humans to detect, but may be immediately obvious to an animal that communicates and understands the world primarily through physical observation. Oscar may have been reading these behavioral signals with a precision that no medical instrument in the facility could match. What makes Oscar's story even more extraordinary is that he is not the only animal ever documented with this ability. In 2010, a dog named Scamp at a hospice facility in the United Kingdom began displaying similar behavior. Staff noticed that Scamp would position himself outside the room of a patient who was about to die, lying quietly at the door, refusing to move. His accuracy, while not as extensively documented as Oscar's, was noted by multiple staff members over several years. In Japan, researchers studying animal behavior in care facilities found that multiple cats living in elderly care homes showed increased attention towards specific patients in the days before their death, spending more time near them, grooming them, staying close when they would normally roam freely. In 2019, a study published in a European veterinary journal examined the behavior of therapy animals in palliative care settings across 5 countries. The study found consistent patterns of animals, primarily cats and dogs, showing increased proximity behavior toward patients who died within 72 hours, compared to patients who remained stable. These are not ghost stories. These are documented observations by trained medical professionals and researchers. Something is happening. We do not fully understand it yet, but it is real. Oscar lived at Steer House for 17 years. He outlasted dozens of staff members, hundreds of patients, and every attempt by scientists to fully explain what he was doing. He was not trying to be extraordinary. He was not performing. He was not seeking attention or recognition. He simply did what he did, quietly and consistently, for as long as he lived. And what he gave to that place, to those patients, to those families, to those nurses who learned to trust what they saw, was something that no medical technology, no algorithm, no diagnostic tool has ever been able to replicate. He gave presence, he gave comfort, and he gave warning. When asked about Oscar years after writing his original paper, Dr. Dosa said something that has stayed with everyone who heard it. He said that working with Oscar changed the way he thought about death, not as a medical failure, not as something to be delayed at all costs, but as a transition that deserved witness and dignity and company. A small gray and white cat walking the hallways of a nursing home in Rhode Island taught a doctor something that years of medical school had not. Now, you are at home. Your cat is somewhere nearby, maybe sleeping, maybe watching you, maybe slowly walking toward you for no reason you can identify. And you might be thinking, does my cat know things I don't? The answer, based on everything science has discovered about feline senses, feline perception, and feline behavior, is almost certainly yes. Not in a supernatural sense, not in a mystical sense, but in a deeply biological, deeply real sense. Your cat perceives the world at a level of sensory detail that is simply beyond what your human brain can access. They smell what you cannot smell. They hear what you cannot hear. They feel vibrations in the air and the floor that register nothing to you. They read micro-expressions on your face and tiny changes in your posture that you are not even aware you are making. Your cat knows when you are sad before you have admitted it to yourself. Your cat knows when you are sick before your body has shown any outward sign. Your cat knows when something has changed in your home, in your energy, in your chemistry, in the invisible signals your body broadcasts constantly, whether you intend to or not. Oscar simply took that ability to its most extraordinary conclusion. Science has given us many tools to understand the world, but every so often something comes along that reminds us how much we still do not know. A small cat in a nursing home in Rhode Island. 100 confirmed predictions, not one mistake. Whatever Oscar was doing, whether it was smell or heat or behavioral reading or something we have not yet found the language to describe, he did it with a consistency and an accuracy that no human and no machine has ever matched. And he did it not for recognition, not for reward, but simply because it was what he did. If you found this story as extraordinary as the millions of people around the world who have encountered it, share this video with someone who loves animals, because this story deserves to be heard. And if you want to keep discovering the hidden science behind your cat's most mysterious behaviors, subscribe to this channel. We are only just beginning. Thank you for watching. And the next time your cat stares at something you cannot see, maybe, just maybe, pay a little more attention.